Happy Halloween! This year, All Hallows Eve falls on a Friday, the perfect night for retro gaming. Bringing back comfortable childhood memories, we rent a game from Blockbuster and cozy up with a bag of sweets. And since vampire season, what better game to review than Castlevania? But since everyone knows that Symphony of the Night is the best entry in the franchise, I thought I'd do something a bit different. Nocturne and the Moonlight, the Sega Saturn version of Symphony of the Night, previously only available in Japan, but thanks to the wonderful people in the ROM hacking community, English patches exist. The Saturn version has a lot of new features that I'll cover in due time, but first it's time for the scripted Let's Play portion of the review. It starts by repackaging the final boss from Rondo of Blood, sort of how Rocky II started with a recap of the first film. One of the new features that you'll notice right away is that Richter now has a new costume that actually resembles his in-game avatar. Supposedly, the better Richter does in this fight against Dracula, the better stats Alucard will have in the main game. So, maximum health, maximum hearts, and no Maria bailing you out. Difficult, but possible. Now the game begins proper. Announce Count Alucard. We slice our way from the first level of the original NES Castlevania, blowing up direwolves. We run into Death, who takes our toys away like a naughty little boy. How was Death able to do that? And if he can take Alucard's equipment, why does he only do it this one time? Nonetheless, off we go through the castle. Our first order of business is to make our way through the alchemy lab to battle against the dreaded Slogger and Gaibin. Powerful, difficult, and frustrating bosses in Castlevania 4. Now an easily thwarted pair of bumbling fools. They've basically been reduced to Scratch and Grounder from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. By the way, did you know that Grounder's voice actor, Gary Chalk, also voiced Castlevania's Dracula in Captain M the Game Master? The King of Spirits was voiced by Long John Baldry, who voiced Robotnik, and Alucard was voiced by Ian Corley, who voiced Coconuts among plenty of other characters, including Robotnik Jr. We go through the clock tower, where we meet the beautiful Maria Renard. Well, this girl certainly blossomed. We're definitely in there. I mean, she's voiced by Michelle Roth opposite Yuri Lowenthal. That seems to be a recurring pattern. We go through the Marble Garden Zone, fight our mirror image, and climb the outer wall to the long library. Clarice from Sakura Wars would be all over you if you bring her here on a date. The Master Librarian is our ally. Cross his palm with silver and we get the Jewel of Open to unlock any glowing blue door. Now, before we continue, I've decided to take a detour to one of the Saturn-exclusive areas, the Cursed Prison. Two reasons why I love this area. The first is that here you get an amazing weapon called the Astral Dagger. With this kind of attack power, you won't need any other weapon upgrades for a while. It also has a homing attack that you do by performing a fireball motion. The second reason is this corridor, where the enemies give ludicrous amounts of experience points. Seriously, for the first few minutes I was getting a level up every time I killed one of these things. Does it trivialize the game and make it too easy? Maybe. But considering how difficult the previous games of this franchise have been, I think I'm entitled to a bit of a power trip. When I finished grinding, I go back to the outer wall to get the relic that lets me turn into a wolf. With the Jewel of Opening, we head back through the alchemy lab to that glowing blue door from earlier, and once again, we run into Maria for more sexual tension.
What, you mean you felt horny and she felt tense?
Yeah.
Come to think of it, how did she get through that door without the jewel? Maybe the blue barrier only affects vampires. We go through the royal chapel and find a peaceful chamber where we can talk to the priest.
So he's already having an affair with the sister, and this is when his wife is seriously ill in hospital.
Wow.
Incredible, isn't it? So who does he make pregnant but the babysitter? So now he doesn't know whether to stay with the wife, the sister, or run off with the babysitter.
And when's his next confession?
Tuesday. I'll keep it posted.
Then we fight the Hippogriff, who goes down easier than Dastardly and Muttley's planes. The Astral Dagger is literally cutting the game's difficulty in half. Then we have more banter with Maria. Wait a minute, she just passed us! How the spec did she get over here? Then we get to the castle keep, where we find the Leap Stone. Not to be confused with the Leaf Stone, which makes certain species of Pokemon evolve. Now that we can double jump, we're off to find the next artifact, riding the most unsafe elevator in history.
If you look to your right and to your left, you will notice there are no exits. In the highly unlikely event of the lift having to make a crash landing, death is certain. Thank you for travelling express lifts. We apologise for the delay.
You should apologise for the chicken.
We go back to the big clock chamber, and we can use a stopwatch to open the passage. To the left, we find Orlok's quarters, which lead us to the Colosseum. The Colosseum has really funky music. Wouldn't sound out of place in a game like Outrun. But then, we're interrupted by an evil laugh. It's Richter! He summons his minions to attack you, but doesn't say to watch the show. I'm almost annoyed! You think he'd at least stick around to heckle you? The Astral Dagger makes short work of the Minotaur and Wolfman. Then we find the Soul of Mist, which lets us turn into fog.
Fog, I'm the one who made the bet, and I know we'll be exactly right on time.
We take a shortcut by using a library card to teleport back to the library. That would be handy if I had to return a book in a hurry. We use the double jump to access a ledge and get bombarded by new enemy types. What's more annoying than a fleaman? An armoured fleaman. Thank goodness for the stopwatch. You run into a demon boss. This one isn't hard, but it is annoying that he's invincible when summoning his minions, which he does all the smegging time. I finally beat him and find the Soul of Bat. Now that we can fly, we can search for the rest of the library. On the other ledge, we find the Fairy card, which lets us summon our first familiar. Sorry, it takes a while to load. That's one disadvantage the Saturn version has, the longer loading times. Bear in mind, this is an improvement patch that reduces the load times. She follows you around and uses healing items when you need them. Very useful for a game in which I'm not always paying attention to my health. She'll also point out suspicious walls that you can break. Hope you're taking notes, Navi! I decided to explore a bit before heading towards the next objective. We go through a heavily guarded hallway and find the healing meal, which restores HP as you walk. Good incentive to get your 10,000 daily steps. We fight our way through the water tower, kill the cloaked knight, and find the rainbow mantle, my favourite cape in the game. This one changes colour as time goes by. Back to Orlok's quarters to face the man himself. This is the first hard boss we've had all playthrough. He has two forms, the second of which has ludicrous amounts of HP and wide area attacks. Eventually I did beat him, and headed on to collect the Echo of Bat. Now that we have sonar, we can see in the dark. We head down to the catacombs, manipulating the Donkey Kong skeletons into burning the bridge. Finally, we come to the deepest dark. Using our sonar, you can see that spikes are covering the walls. Fly very carefully, because it's easy to get hit and hard to recover from falling into more spikes. It's a bit like the dance stage in Ninja Turtles on NES.
Coincidence? I think not.
After much screaming and swearing at the television, we finally hit the switch, and at last I see the light. We go through a few more hallways to find a valuable suit of armour called the Spike Breaker. It makes an interesting sound when you break spikes with it, almost like the chuffing of a steam engine. Now, like Sonic the Hedgehog, we need a couple of rings, so it's off to the basement we go, and after raiding the pantry, we find a weird purple save point that takes us to a dream sequence, which amounts to a succubus making an inappropriate "Your mother!" joke. As luck would have it, I had a Bible as my sub-weapon, and holy damage is super effective against her. Talk about throwing the book at them. After doing something deliciously evil to her off-screen, we find the golden ring. Then we go all the way to the westernmost tower, through the hallway of spikes, and find Maria. How the hell does she keep showing up in all these places without the proper equipment? Anyway, we tell our love interest about Richter, and the harsh review he gave my performance, the Philistine, and she enters the first stage of grief, denial. When she leaves, we pick up the silver ring. Together with the gold ring, they show us what to do next. Back to the clock tower yet again. But first, I wanted to try to get my fairy to sing. As it turns out, Fairy isn't the one who sings for you in the library. It's a separate familiar called Pixie, or Fairy with a Y in some versions. There's also a song lyrics card, which I think you need to equip for her to learn the words. Then when Pixie reaches level 12, sit in a chair and wait. Before we get on with the plot, I want to show you the Underground Garden, another Sega Saturn exclusive area. To reach the upper level of this area, you need to turn into a bat. You go through a botanical laboratory with Scissor Guy from Clock Tower attacking you. You find the skeleton leader with a remix of Bloody Tears blaring in the background. You don't really get any reward for beating him, but another HP boost. Along the bottom of the level, there are these creepy tree enemies with faces that would look right at home in a Jim Henson version of Alice in Wonderland. To be honest, aside from the bonus boss, this area is like a pencil with no lead. Pointless. So, back to the main campaign. We go to the clock tower with the 2 rings equipped and wait a minute. When the bells have finished ringing, a new passage opens up, leading to an Egyptian-looking structure that would look right at home in Yu-Gi-Oh! Maria is here. The good news is that she's past the denial stage. The bad news is that she's now in the anger stage as she challenges us to a boss fight.
It's time to do.
Maria may not look threatening. In fact, she looks like the sort of person you do want to have a bit of a wrestle with. But she's the hardest boss in the game. She keeps beating me over and over again.
It's your fault for being so mean to everyone.
So I went to go and grind a level or 2, come back with a Muramasa, a long-range weapon that gets stronger the more blood you soak it in, and this time I was just able to fluff my way through. Now that I've quelled Maria's anger, she's moved on to the bargaining stage, begging me to save Richter. And she gives me the holy glasses. With these equipped, I go to confront Richter. I demand to know why you, a Belmont, a dedicated defender of peace and justice, a sworn enemy of sin and corruption, wants to resurrect Dracula. He says that once Dracula has gone, there's nothing left for him. Are you telling me that this whole situation arose just because you need to get a life? For God's sake, take up gardening or watercolour painting, get a job, join your local book club, have a dirty weekend away with your wife. There are better things to do in life when your 15 minutes of fame are over. With the holy glasses equipped, we can see a glass ball flying around. This is what you need to be attacking. Once you break it, Shaft's cover is blown and Richter returns to his senses. Shaft runs away, revealing his next wicked scheme. Okay, here's our plan. We need to build an exact copy of the castle right up there. We've got less than a minute! Right before we storm the inverted castle, we get a Saturn-exclusive item, the Godspeed shoes that let you run faster. Now that you're in Upside Down Land, your mission is to find all 5 of Dracula's body parts, like in Simon's Quest on NES. First we fight a giant bat to get the Ring of Vlad, the first boss from the original Castlevania. Next we fight Medusa to get the Heart of Vlad, cue all those idiots on message boards starting shipping wars. Then we fight the Mummy to possess Dracula's rib. You're going to need more bandages than that! Before we continue the onslaught, I decided to go to the Long Library to farm Shmooze, because they drop the best weapon in the game, the almighty Chrysogrim. You can use it while running and it hits 4 times per swing. It makes mincemeat out of the rest of the bosses in this game. Just look how quickly the Frankenstein monster goes down. And now we have the Tooth of Vlad. Who the hell keeps their false teeth inside a Frankenstein monster?
Isn't that just typical of these damned aristocrats? A glass of water isn't good enough.
With a Chrysogrim in hand, I go on a rampage to the inverted Colosseum to face Death himself. He boasted he'll feast on my soul, but look how quickly he goes down. This weapon is wonderful. Even his second form went down like a cardboard cutout in the rain. Now with the Eye of Vlad in hand, it's time for the final showdown at the centre of the castle. Shaft brags about how brilliant his wicked scheme was until Alucard showed up. We fight and I give him a sound whooping. And that's the end of Shaft. Damn right. Then it's the final confrontation with Dracula, the biggest family squabble in Romanian history, whereas Alucard gives his father a sound thrashing for cancelling his weekly subscription to the Beano. It ends with Alucard telling Dracula that Lisa's final words were to not hate mankind. If you can't live with them, at least tolerate them. And for once, Dracula parts with the protagonist on good terms. Outside, we meet Richter and Maria. Alucard says that he'll now sleep for the rest of time. Yeah, good luck with that. And when he leaves, Richter asks, "So, did you get his number?" Now, everyone thinks he slept with Sonia Belmont. It'd be kinda weird to be your great-great-great-great-grandmother's sloppy seconds. But the man in charge of the series claims that legends never happened. And so ends Nocturne in the Moonlight. But there's still more fun to be had. Unlike the PlayStation version, you get a character select right from the start. Richter and Maria don't level up or get upgrades, so you can basically just make a beeline straight for Shaft. We'll go with Richter first. He's got some fun special moves, like the Street Fighter Dragon Punch. The problem is, he can't take that many hits before he falls down and goes boom. Typical Glass Cannon Belmont. But a quick tip, Holy Water is your best friend. Hydrostorm kills all the bosses in one quick spray, including the final boss. Now onto the Saturn version's most unique feature, Maria as a playable character. She was also playable in the PSP port, but this was a heavily edited version that plays identical to how she did in Rondo of Blood for the PC engine. In the Saturn version, she has a completely different set of attacks. She has kick attacks, a flying kick, and a triple jump. She can shoot energy blasts like a spirit gun. She can even charge it up into a powerful laser blast like Mega Man. She also has Street Fighter-style input commands for her special attacks, utilising the 4 gods of Japan. A Romanian woman using magic based on Japanese folklore. Does that make Maria a weeaboo? She's great fun to play as, but her special attacks can be a bit unresponsive, like the dragon attack. I got this one to work once, and only once. Every other time I try to use it, she uses the tiger spell instead. Nice job hiding your favouritism, Maria! I think it's because the import for the spells are very precise, and the controls of a Saturn's D-pad are looser than the PlayStation, thanks to the diagonal buttons. It's much easier to hit the directional button by accident, leaving much more room for error. Richter and Maria's endings are the usual Castlevania affair. For a safe distance, they watch the castle crumble in the morning light and go back to their daily lives. Symphony of the Night is basically a celebration of the franchise with all of these homages to past games. There's even an optional boss fight against the rest of the Castlevania Free gang. But now I'm getting hungry, and there's only one thing that can quell a vampire's hunger. Black pudding, a northern delicacy made of dried sheep's blood. See, vampires can live in harmony with humans. Cheers.